going.
Alright, we're here with Adam Grace for an Index exclusive. Who is Adam Grace?
Well, I'm Adam Grace, and I'm a professional wrestler who is a lot younger than everyone else, a lot smaller than everyone else, but I have a lot of heart, and that's what I use to win my matches, my determination and the will I have to win.
And how did you become Adam Grace?
In training camp, they finally told me I was going to get ready to debut, so they told me to think of a name, and I was just thinking of these awful names, like just the dumbest names you heard of, like Duff Clay. I thought of, like, what does that even mean? So one day in training camp, one of the other trainers told me to think of a name, and I told her I couldn't think of anything. So she said, what are some of your favorite band names? And I said, one of my favorite bands is 3 Days Grace, and the singers of that band's name is Adam, so we just kind of combined the two.
So explain your daily routine. What is it that you do?
Like on a show day?
Yeah, on a show day and your practice days. What are you mainly doing?
When I show up to a show, I typically show up. Shows usually start around 7. I get there around 2. There's probably like a solid 6 or 7 of us that come to the show early. We set up the ring. Then once the ring's set up, typically we'll go to the nearest Subway. Some kind of healthy. We'll go there and we'll eat. And when we come back, we talk to all the guys that showed up while we were gone, and then just kind of have a little bit of a training camp. Not like necessarily a hard training camp. We'll just run the ropes, practice some moves a little bit, and then by that time it's getting ready for 7 o'clock. That's when the show rolls around.
Right. So what sparked the idea to do this ultimately?
I've been a lifelong fan. It's hard to believe I've been watching it since I was 2 years old. So like 16 years I've been watching it, and then when I really didn't know about this smaller scene, the independent scene, which is what I'm in. I went to a show with a former West student, Alex Leifus, actually. I went to a show in October of 2013, and that's where I met my trainer, and then I began training in December of 2013.
So we know you've wrestled in town here, but what other than wrestling in Oshkosh, where have you wrestled mostly?
I've wrestled in places like De Pere, Two Rivers, Kimberly, Green Bay a lot. I've wrestled in Fond du Lac, in Milwaukee. I'm looking to branch out more. I would also like to start wrestling in other states, but for now I'm in this little region of Wisconsin.
And maybe the camera can't tell, but we can. You got a little something different with your hair and skin here. So why do you tan and dye your hair?
Clearly I'm not the biggest guy, like I said, so I needed something to help me stand out more. My moves are pretty flashy, with some of the cool flips I can do and stuff like that. But I didn't think I looked the part. My gear's nice, but when you look at me, you don't think professional wrestler, so I was like, what are some things that I can do to make myself look better? And I thought, well, I'll maybe get a little bit of a tan, make the muscles stand out more, make the hair a little brighter, make it pop a little bit,
Are you getting a discount when you tan now?
Oh yeah, Adam Grace gets discounts. People know him.
And do you have a diet right now?
Actually, at my age, I'm lucky enough where I don't really have to diet. I drink a protein shake after workouts. That's about the only, dieting I do. I'm sure I'll start to diet as I get older, but, the older guys in wrestling, they'll diet to keep themselves in shape, like cutting out red meat, cutting out soda.
So how long have you been doing this for?
It's been about a year and 4 months. I've been training for that long, and then I wrestled matches for about 6 months.
All right. So for that year and 6 months, how many times a day do you practice?
I typically don't practice daily. It's more of like a weekly thing, 2 or 3 times a week.
And for wrestling, what are your long-term goals ultimately?
As a wrestler, everyone's long-term goal is to make it to the WWE, which is equivalent, to the NFL. So obviously that's my long-term goal, but if I want to make a more realistic goal, if you will, it'd just be able to make wrestling a full-time job, whether it's wrestling for, TNA, which is a smaller company, or Ring of Honor, which is an even smaller company. But you can make those, if I can make wrestling a living, I would love to do that.
And so it's only been a little over a year, but what are some of your memorable moments so far?
February 21st, 2015, I won my first championship, WPW Tag Team Championships. That was cool. I've also had matches with some of the best guys in the state: Joey Avalon, Silas Young, Insane Evil. Being able to go toe to toe with those guys in the ring is definitely something that's very cool for me. I necessarily haven't won all those matches, but being able to put on this awesome show and tell this awesome story in the ring with these guys is something that I'll never forget.
That's awesome, yeah. So how similar is this to the real deal, WWE?
It's essentially the same thing. We're just not televised, and we don't quite make the same amount of money, obviously. Also, WWE is more of a storyline-based company. You know, it's like a soap opera on steroids, but we're more of a wrestling-based company.
So you've went up against a bunch of stars. Do these wrestlers take you seriously?
Not at first. When I started training, I was this little, high school kid, 16 years old. When I started training, no one took me seriously. They didn't think I could make it. But when I had my first match, and they saw how good I was getting, they knew I was here to stay. And I think I've gained all their respect now.
So we know in school wrestling here at West, there's a weight class. But is there in WWE and what you're doing?
There's no weight class. You could be as scrawny as 80 pounds or as fat as 600 pounds. You obviously want to keep a good balance of somewhere in between there, but...
Right, of course. How old do you have to be to join? We know you're a younger guy, but how old do you have to be ultimately?
I started off pretty young, 16 years old. I wouldn't recommend starting any younger than 14. I also wouldn't recommend starting any later than like 35. If you start that late, your body's not going to be used to taking all these bumps in the ring, and your injuries are going to happen. The older you start. So I would recommend starting somewhere around my time of 16, 17 years old.
And you said you won a tag team championship. Is there anything individual that you're competing for in the state?
Up in the Green Bay, Two Rivers area, I'm in the tag team, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. But when I wrestle in places like Oshkosh and Milwaukee and Fond du Lac, that's where I'm more of an individual guy. So when you see me wrestle in those cities, that's when I'm going for the gold individually.
So you've played against these countless stars, and of all these, what's your favorite match that you've had?
I would have to say my favorite match is probably with Joey Avalon, which took place in January of this year. He was a guy that I looked up to when I first started out training, and being able to go in the ring with him it was just something so cool for me. And I did not win, but I think I gained his respect in that match. He shook my hand afterwards, which meant a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah. What is one thing, Adam Grace, as sounding off? What is one thing you would like to tell your fans?
I would like to tell them thank you for all the support, not only for me, but for independent wrestling in Wisconsin as a whole. You have no idea how much your support means. Without you guys, we can't do what we do. No one likes to wrestle in front of 5 people, so thank you. Also, April 17th in Oshkosh at the Masonic Center, ACW number 7, which is my hometown, my homecoming. I hope to see you there.
Awesome. Woo! That was good.